Hello, this is the front desk.
Hello, good morning, and welcome to episode 64 of the Crackin' Backs podcast with your hosts, Dr. Terry Wyman and Dr. Spencer Barron. How you doing this morning, guys?
We're ready to go.
Great, Lance. Ready to rock.
All right, so today we are joined by Dr. Hirad Bagy. Dr. Bagy's experience working with professional sports teams spans several decades. Since 1998, he has been the team chiro for various soccer, football, and hockey teams, most recently with the Washington Capitals hockey team. How are you doing this morning, Dr. Bagy?
I am happy and excited to be here. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
No problem.
It only took us a little bit of time there, huh?
Oh my goodness. Yes. Thank you for your patience. I went through like a half a dozen computers. I almost had to go to the basement.
Well, we figured anybody that can handle several pro teams, you do professional baseball, professional hockey, professional football. If you can't handle chaos, then you never would have lasted. So, welcome.
So true.
Yeah, but-
thank you.
Yeah, but he only treats like one guy every 3 hours, you know.
True,
how
but,
much time it takes for him to work on a computer, you know.
It's true. You're on to me. You are on to me. You're on to me. Is that the proverbial chiropractic joke? Is that what it got?
Oh yeah. How many
come out somewhere like
how many
that, yeah.
how many chiropractors does it take to change a light bulb? One would just take 30 times.
Yep, the classic. Yeah, the classic.
That's right. Oh, Dr. Bagy, I'm so glad that you're with us today, man. Really, you are a mentor to so many people, and you've been able to achieve levels in pro sports that people only dream about. Now, when I say people, I mean not just chiropractors, but
people,
medical doctors, orthopedic surgeons, just in general. So, congratulations on all that.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. It's I constantly pinch myself. I do. I call them my pinchable moments. Every day I walk into these scenarios and scenes and athletes and the luck that I have to be there. You have to pinch yourself. So thank you.
I remember when we first tried to book you, and Spence was like, "So what team does he work? What time does he work with?" And he goes, "Well, he's the professional Major League Baseball and NFL and hockey." I'm like, "And the practice? How the hell is he gonna find time for us?" No, that's amazing.
Thank you. No,
so how do you balance everything?
Great question. And here's where, like, today was one of those days where it's a prime example of the balance, right? Last night, Nationals had a game. I travel in the next couple of hours with the team. We have a West Coast trip. I went to the office, came home last night, went to the office, saw some of my patients, came back. We kick-started the computer and got it going, put some, WD-40 on it and got it delayed. And then I got to jump back on, jump on that plane later on today. And here's really the truth of the answer is that I don't think farther than what I have to do in the next day or two and in the next week or so. My commitments with the teams are also outlined so that they all understand that obviously they are the priority, but that there are these other engagements. And as we all know, I have amazing people that support me. I have director of operations that keeps an eye on the office and our staff that is phenomenal. I have doctors that I'm lucky enough with my relationship with the teams to place them in position so that DC United, their soccer team, is taken care of by one of my associates. The Washington Spirit, who we just picked up, which is the ladies soccer team, which just won the championship last year. And I really think it's because of us, because we joined them halfway through the season where they were in the middle of the table and then they won the whole thing. So I'm able to arrange my doctors to help me when I'm not there. So if I go away, and that has been in years of trying to hopefully create training and create consistency and create a path for my doctors in my office so that we all talk at least the same language, even though we provide so many different aspects of the chiropractic. So there's no way I'll be able to do what I do if it was not for those systems in place. And that's the hardest part, right? The what I love to do is what I do, but the hardest part is to be able to manage all those parts.
So question is, you have this scenario with multiple different teams, multiple different ownerships and athletic trainers, and, in other words, a lot of different personalities. I imagine that you got started with each one in a different manner. Could you share with that? Now, mind you, our listening audience is not just doctors, it's also, it's mainly lay people, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, really every relationship is different and every team's needs are different. Not in the treatment pattern of things. I think that's a little bit more consistent, but their needs as a team are different. So to answer your first part of your question, Spencer, is that for most of the scenarios, it is really the athlete that speaks up for me and what I do to the teams. At a certain point, and hopefully, and really actually truly through the confidence they have, in what I can provide is what presents me to the teams. And as we all know, those teams also have to have that confidence in you. So that has to be built through time and through communication, which is number one. Communication is number one. My communication with my trainers and my teams and my management, and that is really what I do best. Making sure I'm transparent is the other one. Is the big thing. I won't go on a tangent, but I will never say that I work with a team unless I have a contract in hand. I won't say that. There's no, if there's not a formal relationship, I will never, I never will forge that, because that is the first way of not having a formal relationship with a team. So, so there are things that I have learned that are do nots, and the do's are communication.
So let me ask you, you got your, if you can remember or elaborate on your first team that you got involved with, because usually when you get involved with one team, it gives you that credential to work with the others.
It sure does.
What was it like for the first one?
Oh my goodness. So I'm a huge soccer fan. Grew up in the Middle East and Europe, played soccer. And then, so once I graduated and came back to the DC area, MLS had just gotten started. DC United is the flagship of MLS. It's the Green Bay Packers of the MLS at the time. So I was working with some of the players because I was so close to the facility. And again, those players ended up going back to the facility. And here's where, again, we're talking in 1998, 99. So a very long time ago, where most teams did not have a proper relationship with, like a formal, relationship with chiropractors. Rick Guter, who I'll give a call out, he was with the men's national team, women's national team, DC United. He was the head trainer of DC United. And he saw the results, and he was not afraid. So the relationship was forged there. I was maybe a year or two older than most of the players. So I was about the same age as these guys. So to answer your question, Spencer, oh my gosh, it was like, I am part of a soccer team, right? I love soccer. I'm about the same age as these guys. I can't tell, I do still remember that I would have dreams at night that the coach was like, hey, H, you know what? Our left defensive back is out, so I need to put you in there for like 10 minutes at the end of the game. I was like, yes, coach, I'm in. Throw me in. So it was an out of body experience. It was like, I would. That was my dreams through the night. So, and that's where it all started. Cool. Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I'm so anxious. I started to share with Dr. Terry a story you told me regarding the World Cup.
Yeah.
And not the World Cup, no, Stanley Cup.
Stanley Cup.
You know, I would love to have saved that for the end, but I love hearing that story so much.
He's like a little
Yeah.
kid. Look at him. He's like,
I'm gonna move.
Can I open a present before Christmas? Can I open a present?
Yeah.
Well, you know, he's Jewish, so they have 12 presents, so he just wants them all the time.
And we celebrate Christmas too.
Okay, there you go. So 13 presents.
Yeah. I have 13 stories. It's good.
Perfect. I love it.
I know. So the Caps won, obviously, the Stanley Cup, and it you know, these experiences have been amazing for me and my family and kids. You know, I had that experience with DC United. I've had the experience with the Nationals. So, you know, my teams and the Washington Spirit, the ladies soccer team. So I've been able to collect some rings, let's say. So here's the thing: we won the championships, and my son, you know, he's a teenager. I'm like, hey, tomorrow morning, let's go grab some breakfast. And he's like, oh, all right. I'm like, you know, let's get up early. And he's like, all right, you know, we'll do it. And so we get up early. It's a Saturday or Sunday or maybe, and we go and I'm keeping driving. We're driving to DC. He's like, where are we going to go have breakfast? I was like, well, we're gonna go have breakfast with the Stanley Cup. He's like, what? I'm like, we're gonna go in, and it was a day when they had like basically presented they had brought back the Stanley Cup from Las Vegas, where we won the championship. And what was awesome is that they were driving around with the cup and taking it to the Nationals facility and to the other sports facilities, and basically saying, hey, this cup is shared, and that's what I love about the Stanley Cup. And we show up, and here's all the players, and here's my, at the time, probably 13-year-old son, and that's really the nectar of it. He walks in, he's holding the Stanley Cup, and we're enjoying the day. So that's what makes it the most special.
100%.
I have another one for you. Hold on. Let me back that up because I can't tell you. All right. So nobody really understands, and I don't. I really don't. You get in these parades, right? You get on the double-decker bus. And so the family's on the double-decker bus, and son, again, at this point, 2 years older. So, and we're standing on the side corridor, and I remember this, and I will always remember this, is that once that bus turned the corner to the main avenue, where there were hundreds of thousands, if I may say, people, sea of people, 10, 20, 30 people deep, he looks at that scene and he looks at me. That picture will never leave my mind. So I'll back. That's my second story. I owe you 11 more. That's the beauty of it. That's the absolute beauty of it.
100%. Everybody wants the fame and the rings and the money, but sometimes it's that human look or that human experience that is better than anything. You know, it's.
And the sacrifices too, Dr. Mary. You know, here's where I think my family also and my staff and everybody that's around me make sacrifices for me, and also I make the sacrifices of being there all the time, taking care of these teams all the time, and maybe missing an event or two, missing a sporting event, and those are the sacrifices. But obviously, the rewards are beautiful. Yeah. You know, I still reconnect Dr. Andy Klein, and I know you guys know Dr. Andy Klein.
Oh, really? That guy? I'm kidding. We love him.
You know, Andy doesn't listen to our show, so it's okay.
One thing we really have in common is that we both love fried chicken. And so one thing I loved about him right away is that if a man loves his fried chicken as much as I do, then he can tell me anything. I'll do anything for him. So Yeah, no, Andy was one of my professors at Northwestern. And here's the crazy part is that I always admired him. We didn't have that close of a bond, but we're talking like years later with the Professional Football Chiropractic Society. I ran into him. He's like, Hirad? I'm like, whoa, hold on. He's that kind of guy. He's the kind of guy. He's one of the smartest guys I've ever met.
I agree.
He is so, and I can't, sadly, I can't have like a smart conversation with him. So he just talks to me and I just listen. So I have no feedback for him. It's like, have you read the research about? I'm like, no, I really, give me that.
But you could ask him if he's been to Kentucky Fried Chicken, Popeyes, or any of the other. Oh no,
he knows his fried chicken. I can talk that. Spencer, I'm good for that, man.
The science of fried chicken. I bet you could.
I'm telling you.
You could cite references and menus and everything.
I
sent him a picture. Cool. I was with the Nationals in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. I was with the Nationals in Pittsburgh, and there's this really good fried chicken place. I sent him a picture. I was like, wish you were here. I got to eat this on my own. So I'm sorry for whoever is. I do try to keep a good diet, but I can't give up a good diet.
That's hilarious. I never knew that about him.
It's so funny. In our podcast, we'll bring, I call them legends in the world of sports chiropractor, people that are that the students and other chiros look up to, you being one of them. Yeah. And there's certain names that always pop up. And it's kind of cool. And I don't think some of these people like your Andy Kleins, your Tom Hydes, and I don't think some of these people realize what kind of impact they have had with people. And I hope they listen. And we got to get those guys on because we've had some legends on. We've had Jan Corwin, who was a great one, but we've had some great people. But that's really cool. Andy comes up a lot, and he is a gifted man, and I'm with you too. He can talk, and there's like Don Aspergen. He can talk and pull out research articles left and right, and I'm like, But I can adjust the bone.
yes. But that's the beauty about these amazing and the mentors, I think, is that they dumb it down for somebody like me. And it makes it understandable, right? You have to have a different level of, and here's where I think, everybody asks me, well, how do you do this? How do you do that? I just continue to do it until I get it right. It's a golf swing. Yeah. It is a whatever we talk about, and those mentors, what the beauty of them is that they're smart, but they don't make you feel like you're not smart, and they raise you above. So
yes. And I always tell people, and it drives both my engineer and my partner crazy. I use the word trenches, but I'm a trenches doctor, and I'm not an academic doctor. And thank God we have those guys to keep us trenches doctors smart and give us the information to feed us. Shut up, Spencer. That's
right. No, it really is true. And Spencer's, Spencer is the same kind of person, and he just like he'll go and he will give a talk, neurology talk. I understand 3 words. I think I understood funiculus. I was like, oh, is that in New Jersey? Is that a ride? Is it not? No, I'm kidding, but.
The question I have, Dr. H, will you listen to the first part of the thing? Because I'm usually like gone by halfway through his lecture. No.
He is way over, and here's the beauty of it is that 90% of when you have those very smart and academic people. 90% of people don't understand, but we need you. We love, and so we need 100%. You in the trenches, right? We need you in the trenches. 100%. As you were saying, is that I know how to. I am like you said. It's funny you said trenches because that's really who I am. I try to, hopefully, what my goal is to show our profession through just being the carpenter. But in order to be the carpenter, I need the smarts.
So, Hirad, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
You know, we're always, in awe of working with, high level athletes, not just, pros, but, it could be college, could be high school or anything like that.
Sure.
Do you have a time where you were really concerned or worried or didn't know what to do, or maybe even something, scary that might have happened that you thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do next? Working with an athlete, anything in particular?
So I'll answer that question in two parts. Is that, here's a football scenario, right? A football scenario, somebody comes off the field, there's no table. And if their rib is subluxated, you've got to figure out a way to put your hand under those pads and get a mid-thoracic rib to adjust on the floor or on the bench, right? And that is the sort of things that you can't prepare for ultimately. I can't go, hey, Spencer, could you please put on a pair of pads so I can understand it, right? So you have to have the conceptual understanding of these scenarios so that when that time comes, you have worked that through your mind. So I'm a very visual person. And here's another side, people are like, how do you know? I just visualize it. I dream about it. I call it my 4 a.m. wake-up calls, where I wake up in the morning. I'm like, you know what? That rib adjustment could have been done this way. Let's try another way to do it, with a pad, without a pad. So here's a direct scenario that I'll talk about. I'm sure you know one of the best pitchers in the world that won the World Series, he has different color eyes. So I was actually talking about this the other day. He doesn't talk during the game. Nobody talks to him. He's amazing. He's like one of the most competitive people that I know. Before a game, I used to always work on his wrists and adjust his wrist. And one day he played, he came out like a couple of innings and this never had happened before. He's like, hey, it's jammed up. So the head trainer is like, all right, H, just go ahead. And I adjusted this thing, and we all know what it's supposed to sound like. And it went boom. And it was so subluxed, it was so jammed, it had to happen. But his reaction was through the roof. I was like, okay, I just crashed a Ferrari. I just ran that Ferrari to the wall. And my dad's Ferrari is in the lake.
Yeah.
So, and here's the upside. He went out, he pitched, he comes back, and he's like, it's better. Do it, so we looked. I in that inning, standing there outside of, the dugout, I was like, I mean, I've done this 1.5 million times. 500,000 to this guy. Comes back and here's the funny. It was like, I'm like, okay, it's moving better. I'm like, hey, this is what happened. This is what happened. He goes, H, at this point of the game, I don't really bleep care what happened. It felt better. You did the right thing. Just fix it again, and I'm out. And I was like, all right. Boom.
Wow.
And you know what I did? What I did? I asked the trainer, I was like, hey, I'm leaving. I'm going to have to go have a drink. And you guys have this. You guys.
Right.
It's like, go.
After you vomited in the bathroom.
So I've always talked to like my residents, my interns, my new doctors. I've always said, never doubt the process, never doubt chiropractic. Right. If there's a mistake made, maybe it's you, but don't ever doubt the process. Right. And that's kind of what you did. You did 1 million times. You did the same thing around. Just because the outcome was different, the process was correct.
Yeah, the process was correct. The reaction was not what I was expecting, and
Right.
that was the first that I literally, I think I was talking about it because I got to see the same man, and I was chatting with him about it. He's like, "Yep, remember that night." But
Do you remember what
like,
drink
yeah,
you had?
no, not after a while. After a while, it was all just.
I have to laugh because you talk about adjusting or doing some sort of chiropractic move, and yet we sometimes neglect to realize that there's other factors, other variables, such as David Wright. And by the way, I don't mind talking about some of the patients I treat because it's not like we're talking anything bad, but David Wright was at the pinnacle of his game. The New York Mets, they're in town. I get the phone call, go treat, and I pull out the portable chiropractic table that the Marlins stuck between the ice machine and the hot tub. Right. And you're there's not enough humidity in South Florida. so I go, what? This is crazy. I pull the tail. I go all the way to the visitor's locker. I pull it out. David has missed 2 games because of rib pain. Mm-hmm. He runs with me to get on the table. In his spunky behavior, he jumps on the table and the table snaps into pieces and swallows him alive. Oh, yes. And he's like even worse now. Yeah. So my God, I just wrecked one of their main players. Yeah. So what do? I pull the bottom piece, the broken piece off, and I have a table now this big with 2 legs. I go, Dave, we got to figure out. Just lay on it. And his legs are hanging off. I adjust his thoracics. He has to go and warm up. Yeah. And that day, now I left before the end of the game, and then I go home, and the next morning I get up and I go on my computer, and I go, I'm gonna have to confess to the chiropractor, to the New York Mets, that I trashed one of their main players, and I go ahead and I pull up chiropractor, New York Mets, and all this stuff comes up, and I'm going, wow, this guy's stacked. And what had happened was, I'm looking at the ESPN News, Fox Sports, and the dates were from last night or that morning. David mentioned, they asked him how he came back and did so well. He had a career high night. He goes, I got popped or cracked by some chiropractor.
That's like, awesome. What? That's awesome.
The unexpected things that happen.
I love it. Yeah.
So now we're just going to start calling you the chiropractor.
That's right.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
So I gotta ask you something. With all your success, the last 2 years have been one of my favorite topics. The last 2 years have been kind of crazy, and for people in healthcare and even new chiropractors coming out, with your years of training room experience and dealing with the stresses and the successes and the failures, when people start getting down and going, personally, my partner and I think this is the best time to be alive to be a chiropractor. And but sometimes watching the media and watching everything else, it's the worst time to be in healthcare. What's your advice for the people that are out there even struggling in healthcare, not chiropractic, but just healthcare in general? Right. What's your advice for them?
That's a good question. And in practice, the best thing you can do is continue to work hard. The things that we always forget when we're under these stresses is what got us there. We start abandoning things because we think they're not working. But if those things have worked for you, if your advertising budget was $100 a week and you're, not getting the result, we tend to try to reform things when it was working. Markets change, patients' habits change as we've gone through these cycles. You have to engage your patients in both financial, emotional, physical way to just understand where they are. So really the direct advice is don't lose that line. Don't lose what got you there. And don't stop looking in the mirror and thinking what worked and what didn't work. Continue. Yesterday I was talking to one of my staff members, and she had a great question. She goes, how does it feel to be the boss, to have your practices and do it? And I was like, it's the hardest and the most gratifying thing that I've ever done in my life as far as my career goes. Because this past 2 weeks have been super stressful, just because the dynamics of a practice to me is like a living organism, just like our bodies. It's constantly changing. The market is constantly changing. It's constantly evolving. And here's the sort of the loose analogy is that if you're running and your Achilles is hurting, well, figure out the Achilles before something else is going to break. So continue to look at your practice as a living, moving, dynamic organism with people, with finance, with what you're doing. How is your practice evolving? My practice has changed really fundamentally. I've changed it 3 times, from a basic chiropractic office to a huge wellness center to a sports performance. It's because that's what the market and our practice was going. It just was traveling that way. As far as the sports world is concerned, this is going to be the hardest thing for anybody to quantify. Nobody gets it for free. You have to work hard. You have to sacrifice. You have to give a lot of yourself in order for those doors to open, in order for people to understand that you have their best interest in mind. I think the shortcut mentality is seen by the sports world. From the player to the front office to the chiropractor. So in that world, I've really worked hard. I've been very dedicated. I've always gotten better. Every single year that I walk into that locker room, in every facet, I go, H, this could be your last year, man. What are you going to do? And I've been doing that for 23 years. For 23 years, the same question every time I walk into that facility. This is your last year, man. What are you going to do? Yeah.
With mental health issues at an all-time high, are you seeing your 100%. Athletes or even the healthcare providers?
Yeah, I see it
having.
And before you answer that, H, I'm going to preface this. Your episode's going to come out during Mental Health Awareness Month, and so I love what Dr. Spence just asked, and I always want to elaborate. What are your mental health tips that you're helping with your patients, your athletes, and yourself?
Mm-hmm. I have seen, and this is a conversation that I've had the past couple of weeks. Honestly, it's we've heard the news. We've heard, my son is going to go to college next year to James Madison. We're very proud of him. Mental health. Thank you. Mental health from high school, middle school, high school, all the way up, and even for myself. So I see the. I hate to use this, but please forget the PTSD of what has happened to us in the past couple of years really starting to unfold with a lot of my patients, with a lot of my athletes, with a lot of my staff, with even internally when I look at my staff, I'm like, why is this person reacting this way now, where there's just a completely different characteristic of what they were doing? And the only thing I can tangibly think about is, as we all know, when we're in a battle, we fight, and once the battle is done, that these residual effects of stress come about. So I see that in a lot of my patients. My level of young athletes with these weird stress-based neck and shoulder headaches and insomnia, and we've gone to this, you've heard the story, we've gone to this doctor, and she's getting headaches, and she's doing this, and he's doing this, and he's having neck pain, he can't sleep, right? Exponentially has increased in my practice. And I'm wondering, and I was like, well, what's going on? And of course, we address it initially with the biomechanical and functional. But I'm leaning a lot towards the fact that a lot of these are increased by stress-based events. So that's the patient base. For my athletes, this is a sports is a social event. Sports is what we all unite around, we bond, the community. And so when that community is not there, these athletes, it's a different game. A baseball stadium with nobody there is a whole different sport, especially in baseball, right? A football game without anybody cheering and screaming and whatever else they may be saying, it's a whole different sport. So these athletes will tend to also react to that as well.
Interesting. You're always, I've known you for years, and you're always upbeat and just a charming, magnetic personality.
Thank
you. You're welcome, and you deserve all the accolades. We talk about communication, and yet one of the key factors is patients will only rise as you are elevated in that state of mind, because they come in confused, they come in this level of paradox. And what do you do when you walk in with a patient? Are you always what's your personality like at those moments?
Every room, every door that I open, I leave the last door behind. I leave everything behind, and I give them my 100% attention, and I am on stage with them. It's like going to the theater and you have that one-on-one act where it uplifts and it's an engaging. And I always look at it as the stage. I'm the director, I'm the doctor, I'm the healer, I'm the confidant. But I will not let anything else, as much as I can, interfere with the fact that this is their time. This is where I need to be at my best. Now, life happens outside of that door. We all have life that happens outside of that door. But I, again, tell myself that if I don't walk in there and give them 100% of my effort and my energy and my engagement, that they may not get as well as soon as they want to or need to. And I do that with my sports teams, is that being present, no matter what I do, at the time I do it, is one of the things that gives me joy. Because we get to have these conversations when we are all present and engaged, and that's really my secret sauce of making myself happy, being happy, leaving that room and going, you know what, this person is better, not better, worse, but I gave them 100% and I was present, and I think that's really one of the most important things we can offer as doctors, healers in every spectrum of practice.
Well, it's funny, and with such an eloquent and extraordinary example, I would love to share this. Just 2 points to really elaborate on what you said. One, we're all three fathers. All three of us are fathers. Right. And I would like to believe that we are very passionate about being in that fatherhood state, and part of what we do with patients is, there's a saying, how you do anything is how you do everything. So how you are with your patients, or how you are with your friends, how you are with your children. And it's what I learned many years ago, PTC, present time consciousness.
Yes.
And to be completely immersed in the person that you're talking to is one of the reasons why Dr. Terry and I are really, really in love with doing this program.
Yeah.
Part 2 of this is that last week, Dr. Terry and we interviewed a former Navy SEAL. Nice. And he talked about being able to compartmentalize, which is what you were alluding to. We have our shit that we come to the table with, and yet we have to compartmentalize it and put it over here while we focus on that patient. Mm-hmm. And so I think that is a gift in our ability to communicate effectively. No, so thanks for bringing that up, man.
No, it is really and again, coming out, bringing those two worlds, coming out from a place of pandemic where we were so isolated and could not activate those juices, which I think are very important to me and everybody, right? And then coming out of that, especially as doctors, we need to take that next level to see our patients in multi-dimensions of their physical, emotional, and the best way you can do it is by lifting them up, listening, and you know what happens when that happens? Both of you had just said it. They lift you up. That energy bounces right back and gives back to you, so you can carry that and you carry it into the next room, and you carry it into the next room. And you know, my tables at the teams it's my sanctuary. It's in the middle of I've never had a closed room treatment area. They've offered me, it's like, you want your own room? I'm like, no, I really don't. I want a communal event, you know, and you guys can all appreciate when you have one patient or athletes on the table and you have like 4 other athletes sitting around. Everybody is involved in that experiment, and talking and BSing, and you know, there's no other place like a locker room of area. So that is my mecca. So you know, so that's what brings the energy.
All right, we got to close, but go ahead, Spence.
No, I just want to say one thing that and distill out the gem in what Dr. Bagy just said, and that is, you know, you joke around, and Dr. Terry, you know what I'm going to talk about here is you have to have thick skin to be, because when they tease you and say some really whacked things, you got to laugh and you got to let it slide off. And the reason why I bring that up is because it's not like that today. You got people that can make one comment that's off, and you get slapped. Maybe I shouldn't bring that up. But
well, here's the thing, and I'll leave it that. Go ahead, Dr.
No, I'm gonna. I love my partner, because we think after doing this for 8 months, we're already on the same wavelength. We think alike, and what he just said. I want to end with, because we're gonna have to get you on a plane quick. So I want to end, but I want to end with on a positive note, and for mental health and all that. I want to end with your favorite locker room story.
Oh wow! Oh my goodness, you had to set me up with that. I've been doing this for 23 years.
I want one that you go back on that will still to this day make you laugh. That is like the favorite locker room.
Okay. I have to tell you this as a man. I hope everybody appreciates our professionalism. And so in 1999, I'm a 29-year-old man, chiropractor, and I get called by the 99 women's soccer team that won the whole thing. Would you like to be the chiropractor for the 99 team? And I'm like, is this a joke? Are you kidding me? So I was fortunate enough, and we're all about the same age. You know, I'll tell you this, Mia Hamm and I went to high school, and that was not the connection. We you know, didn't know each other at the time, but reconnected. And so I was standing there with my professional face, and it was all professional, but that was my first pinchable moment. I was like, I must have done something really right in past lives to be standing in this locker room with these amazing, elite female athletes, and thank you, Lord.
That's great, man.
And we won the championship.
Were you married at the time?
No, I was not. So I went to the archives on that one, but that was And,
All right.
so-
On the last note, what's the best practical joke that has ever been played around you or with you in the locker room?
Oh my goodness, practical joke that
Or,
they like
or
to
like
mess
some
with my,
fun hate. Yeah.
They like to mess with my
with you
table.
whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean they like to mess. The football players love to mess with the table. And one time we were in Dallas, and one of the guys came in, and it was one of those old school, I don't know what it is, Thompson or whatever table. It had bolts, so he started loosening up the bolts, and I didn't know anything. They're all standing there, and they're like, "Hey, so and so, 340-pound big old O-lineman." He comes in and they're like, "All right, you go first." We're like, "But there's a list." He's like, "No, you go first." So this guy gets on the table, and the table just boom.
No way. Oh my God.
Yeah, you don't want to piss off a 300-pound lineman.
No, you don't. He might have been a rookie at that point. It might have gone on him. But yeah, that's But I'll leave you with this, and I love working with professional athletes. These men and women work so hard.
Yeah.
They want to get better. They're determined. They're professional. Yes. And everybody asks us like, "Hey, how are the football players?" Well, they're phenomenal. They're great men that want to work hard, want to do well, and if you help them, that's the greatest joy. So I can't say more about the athletes as well.
Well, on that note, you're a legend in our field. We're very honored to have you. I've followed you from the years of the national team. I'm sure you've worked with Bert Mendenbaum before, and
yeah, sure.
And he's a doctor at Pepperdine for us. So he's one of my
awesome.
close friends, but you've been a legend in other sports. You're one of the only Carlos I know that works with all across the board when it comes to every sport out there. So it's an honor to have you, and please fly safe to the West Coast and continued success, my friend.
Thank you very much. I am truly
Good to see you,
honored,
buddy.
guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Crackin' Backs podcast. We hope you enjoyed, and make sure you follow our Instagram at Crackin' Backs Podcast. Catch new episodes every Monday. See you next time.